Unfortunately, I don't have a really nice video to show you all, so this is going to be a little bit more just me talking, I'm afraid. But hopefully, I'll give you some useful information and advice for your careers as you move forwards. So this talk is going to be very briefly a little bit about Green Biologics, some of the information about careers in our company, and then a bit of a summary and some take-home messages. So we are an industrial biotech company, and we're based down in Oxfordshire. As I said, we're quite small. Our focus is on making biochemicals using microbial fermentation. Specifically, we're looking at making biobutanol and bioacetone using the solventogenic Clostridia. So this is a process that was an industrial process, especially around the First and the Second World Wars, but it couldn't compete with the petrochemical industry. So over time, it's kind of fallen out of favour, no longer economic, and therefore it kind of just died out. So as a company, what we're doing is re-commercialising this process. Now, the reason we can do that is because we know a lot more now than they did back in the 40s and 50s about Clostridia. We have a much larger Clostridial culture collection. We understand more about those strains, how they grow and what they grow on. In our strain development group, we have some proprietary technology that we've developed, which means for the first time you can actually go in and do some really cool genetic modifications of these strains. They're really difficult to work with, I should point that out, very difficult to work with. But we can go in and we can make single nucleotide polymorphisms, we can make deletions, and we can integrate new pathways into these bugs as well. So with our Cleave technology, we've kind of opened up the use of these strains as an industrial strain, not just for acetone and butanol, but for other chemicals as well. In our process development team, so these are our fermentation scientists, they've developed a method whereby we no longer have to just use batch fermentations, but we can actually get a high yielding, high productivity process running, which again means that we can now be competitive with the petrochemical industry for making butanol and acetone. And our product development team have done some nice work as well. We don't focus on the biofuels market, we don't focus on commodity chemicals market, we're looking at the high value applications for butanol and acetone. And we actually have our own product that is now on the shelves in the US as of the end of last year, I think, which is a charcoal lighter fluid made from our biobutanol. So it's clean burning, natural product, and it's going down quite well at the moment in the US. And this is our first plant. So this is in the US, this is Central Minnesota Renewables, and this is the first butanol plant to be running in the US since the 40s. And this is now up and running. It was an ethanol plant, but we're now providing butanol and acetone to customers as of the end of last year. And very briefly overlook, this is why it's a good product to go for. There are loads of markets that these products go into, okay? And by making butanol and acetone through fermentation, we are providing a product that doesn't contain the impurities that you get with the petrochemical industry. So our butanol, for example, doesn't contain aldehydes. Our acetone doesn't contain benzene. So benzene's a carcinogen. Acetone's used a lot in nail varnish remover. What you really don't want to be doing is washing your hands in benzene. So it's a good kind of product to have, a bio product. It has those advantages, which gives us those markets which the petrochemical can't enter. Okay, so that's Green Biologics. My next few slides are all about careers in GBL. So we take people on from a range of different backgrounds. So you can come from a BSc, Masters or PhD direct application. We also take on apprentices, so we've got a guy at the moment who came to us straight from GCSEs, and one of our analytical chemist apprenticeships who came in from her A-levels. We take on interns, and some of these interns have become permanent contract employees after a successful project. And we also take part in the knowledge transfer partnership, so if you're looking for academic and industry and you're not quite sure where you want to go, they're actually quite useful for carrying on in academia for a little bit, whilst also trying out industry. In the lab, we have a range of jobs from technician through to senior scientist, and these are in molecular, microbiology, in fermentation science, in analytical chemistry. Those are the main kind of areas that we look at in the UK. The US is different, that's more engineering and sort of pilot operations there. So. And then the non-lab associated roles, I call them, are things like the group leader, CTO, CEO, you kind of need those in the company as well. But then the IP manager and project manager are scientists who have kind of gone a slightly different route. So in GBL, because we're a small company, you kind of get the option to try out lots of different things before you figure out where it is you want to go. So a number of our employees have started off on one career track, but now doing something that they really didn't expect. So these two examples are, I guess, traditional. So PhD, Holly came in as a KTP fellow and is now a senior scientist. We had our process engineer came in, is now a senior process engineer, so kind of following exactly the same pathway as they'd expect. But then this group have kind of veered off slightly. So we had a postdoc from academia, came in as an analytical scientist, and she now manages all our IP. So she's not in the lab anymore at all. She's basically the straddling between our scientists and our patent attorney. So she's had to learn a whole new range of skills in order to be able to do that job effectively. We've got scientists who came in as a graduate intern, worked up to be a senior scientist, and is now also a health and safety manager. So again, part-time in the lab, but also doing all of our health and safety side of things as well. And then we had a scientist, a guy who started exactly the same time as me, did his PhD, came in as a research scientist, decided he didn't want to be in the lab, moved out to do project management, became head of projects, and is now a group leader. So these guys have basically been able to try different things because those opportunities have been there for them to kind of get the feelers out and see what they want to do. And then they've kind of moved into a different direction away from the lab. And then the obligatory scientist turned accountant, which we won't go into anymore. So this is kind of what I've done in my career. I started off at Green Biologics as a bench scientist in 2007, and I'm now head of strain development group, analytical chemistry, and lab operations. Now, most of my time I'm doing things like people management, project management, innovation, kind of looking at where we should be going next with our projects, and also keeping the labs going with the lab operations stuff. But that's not all I do. That's probably just, I don't know, 50, 60% of what I actually do. These are the other things, or some of the other things that I do as well. So we get involved a lot with STEM outreach. The newsletter is something that I started up a few years ago to improve communication because we've got so many different sites in the US and the UK and satellite offices in Brazil, India, and China that not everyone knows everyone else. You don't get the opportunity to meet everyone. So we started that up to try and improve things there. More recently, we're looking at responsible innovation frameworks, so collaborating more with social scientists, and that's something that I've taken on as well. So the way I got from doing bench science in 2007 to basically being the boss of the group and not having to do lab work anymore at all was by not just doing the job that was expected of me, so not just doing the tasks that I was expected to do, but actually looking around and seeing what else in the company needs doing. What can we do to improve things? And then is there something that I can do to help out there? Okay, so a few benefits and downsides to working for an SME. I'm not going to go through all of these, but just a couple of things. I think one of the good things about working for a small company is you get a skills crash course. So my job, as I say, is predominantly being a group leader, but there's so many other things that I get the opportunity to do. Last week, we were at a marketing show in London. Nothing to do with my actual role, but we were asked to help out the marketing group, so that's where I was. So you get to try out all these different things, and building up all those skills is how you develop your career from one stage to the next. And the other benefit, I think, is there's no excuse to ever be bored, ever. There's always something to be doing. Downsides, I think some people find it's difficult if you don't have a defined career path. For me, this is a good thing because it means I can try out different things, but some people require that structure, so it can be difficult if you're not kind of able to kind of do that but yourself. Other things that I've learned over the years, getting noticed for the right reasons. So you're all aware, I guess, that science isn't going to be 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. That's the same in industry as it is in academia. Our bugs, they don't grow 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You still have to work with what bugs you're working with. If you're flexible, if you go the extra mile, you will be noticed and you will be rewarded in the long term. It's a good thing to be doing that. Two phrases that I absolutely hate hearing that we hear occasionally. That's not in my job description, but that's not how we do things. I don't care. You know, if you want to move on and you want to get up on in your career, you do those things. You know, you just take them on and you do them. Important thing that I've learned over the years, it doesn't matter what your personality type is, you can be successful. You don't have to be an extrovert. I'm an introvert. I'm not going to be the person that's standing up and shouting in the middle of a meeting. But I have my own way of doing things, and for me, so far, it's been successful. And I think if you learn from everyone around you, watch and listen, what are the behaviours that get noticed for the right reasons, and try and emulate those. So this is my final slide. Some take-home messages. It's kind of easy to kind of plan out your next 10 years and go, that's what I'm going to do. Even if you've got that plan in place, your interests may change. So just be aware of that and take the opportunities that you get given. Don't let people tell you you can't. Just find your own way and play to your strengths. That's probably one of the important things I can tell you. And also, you can't do everything by yourself. The only reason I can do all of those other things around my actual proper job is because there's a team of us doing it. It's not just me. There's a few of us that do the newsletter, that do the STEM outreach stuff. So find like-minded people and then work with them. As I finally, never let yourself be bored. And that is it.